Hello, and welcome to EmpowerID 101. My name is Phil Geringer, one of the solution architects here at EmpowerID. I've created this series of short training videos to provide you with an administrator's understanding of EmpowerID. I've included videos that cover most aspects of EmpowerID, from basic concepts to complex configurations and everything in between. Each video has been designed to cover a specific topic or process, so feel free to come back often and refresh your understanding of a particular area you may be interested in. This particular video in the series will cover RBAC concepts. So understanding the definitions of EmpowerID's RBAC components is a critical step in developing an understanding of RBAC configuration and management. So throughout the video today, we're going to cover RBAC in general, protected resources, protected operations, technology roles, including resource roles and management roles, business roles and locations, and then take a brief look at our delegation concept. Now, in subsequent videos, we'll talk about the actual building of our RBAC delegations, but today we'll just cover the general concepts around our RBAC technology. So roles-based access control, or RBAC, known in most identity management solutions as roles-based access control, is a framework designed to allow organizations to more efficiently manage permissions across applications and other protected IT resources. As such, the RBAC model attempts to mirror real-world organizational structures by recognizing that most individuals within organizations perform tasks against resources related to the function or job that they hold within the organization. Now, by organizing and assigning access based on a role, management of access can be aggregated to job functions instead of to individual users. So as we start out, it's important to know that within EmpowerID, what we do is we manage resources. So these protected resources are simply the resources within a resource system that are managed and protected, such as groups, mailboxes, etc. Now, in order to manipulate a protected resource, a person must have the permission to execute a protected operation against that resource. So what are these protected operations? Protected operations are simply specific pieces of functionality, such as add account to group, enable OA, change quota, edit account name, those types of things. And they're managed and protected by RBAC security. Now, these operations are used in workflows as encapsulated shapes that can be placed in the workstream. Now, protected operations automatically read, interpret, and honor the RBAC security assignments of a particular person or role. Now, to understand protected operations just a little bit better, let's go to one of our systems here. Now, this is a typical workflow within our Workflow Studio. This particular one is the Create Person Simple workflow. And you'll notice there's a number of activities in here. Well, one of these activities is a special activity called a protected operation. Now, this protected operation, as the work is progressing through this workflow, this protected operation here will actually pause the workflow, and it will take a look to see if the person that's executing this workflow actually has the authority to perform this operation, which would be a create person. Okay, so it would be one of these protected operations here, such as create. If we expand out this activity, we see that it is comprised of a number of other activities and quite a bit of business logic. And even further down in here, we have another operation within this particular operations base that continues the logic processing. So these protected operations are actually very complex shapes, specialized activity shapes that actually perform quite complex function. And so these operations are what we actually delegate people the authority to do in order to grant permissions within our system. So moving along now with our protected operations, we get to our roles. Now, roles can be thought of as simply a bundle of access rights assigned to specific resources that can be assigned as a single unit to users. So you're taking all these operations and you're bundling them up into roles. Now, the two basic types of roles are those technology roles and our business roles, and we'll take a look at each of those separately here. So technology roles are bundles of permissions that grant access to resources. The two types of technology roles that we have are resource roles, also known as access levels, and then our management roles. So to take each of those in turn, let's take a look at resource roles first. Also called access levels, these resource roles are accumulations of protected operations specific to a particular type of resource. They're used to provide a bundle of operations that support a particular level of access to a resource type. For example, the resource role of password manager for user accounts will have several protected operations such as reset password, change password, edit password operations, etc. And these provide an accumulated set of permissions against a particular type of resource. Now, resource roles are the most granular level of access that we can assign to an actor to grant permissions to a resource. Let's take a look at an example of one of these resource roles. We go back to our system here. Let's take a look at one of our resource roles. So this is our access level definitions page within our web interface. And we can see here that I've selected the resource type of person to see all of the different resource roles or access levels available to protect person objects. So let's pull up one of these and just take a look at it. Let's take a look at the password reset and unlock. Now the password reset and unlock, if we look at the operations associated with this particular access level, we see that if we give this particular access level or resource role, delegate that to an individual, the operations, those protected operations that they will be able to perform while running a workflow are right here. For instance, reset password, add to management role, unlock a person, unlock from the reset center, enable a person, unlock person accounts, and then another unlock person. So these operations are simply those protected operation shapes that appear in workflows. And if we grant someone this password reset and unlock, then any workflow that has one of these operations in it will be able to be completed by the user when they're running that workflow. So now let's take a look at the next level up from our resource roles, which is our management roles. Now, management roles are simply bundles of resource roles that provide delegated access to resources of varying resource types within a specific scope of authority that supports a particular job responsibility. Now, when assigned to a person, they can provide combined access levels for multiple types of resources across a defined scope within the organization. They're built from management role definitions and extend that access by including the scoped assignments. So let's take a look at an example of one of those management roles. So on this page here, I have a sampling of some of the management roles that we can assign within EmpowerID. So let's take a look at our Enterprise Password Administrator. Now remember, we just saw a resource role, which is that lower level bundle of operations specific to a person type of object. Now we're going to take a look at our Enterprise Password Administrator management role, and we'll be able to see that that management role has access assignments for different types of resources. So for instance, let's look at workflows that it might have access to. And here's one workflow here, the request workflow to create a one-time password token. Let's take a look at some other types of objects. For instance, let's look at person objects. And for person type objects, we are granted the password reset and unlock resource role, which is the one we looked at earlier, for any item anywhere in the organization. Now we can provide additional scopes of access by simply editing this and then selecting a location where we want to provide that access. So we could provide it at the all business locations access assignment point and save that. And I simply created another scope of assignment there. So the management roles can combine different access levels from different types of resources all together to bundle in to provide to somebody their access. Now, when we talk about scope within a management role, what we're talking about is what are the combined objects that this particular management role grants someone access to. So for instance, if I create a management role with a scope of a particular location, such as the Columbus office, what I can do is I can create a management role. I can say that this management role protects resources or grants someone resources to all of a particular type of resource in the Columbus location. So maybe all people in that location or all computers in the Columbus location. That's what we call a scope of access in EmpowerID. All right, so now let's take a look at the next concept here, which is our business roles. Now, business roles are simply a hierarchical container for grouping EmpowerID person objects. So business roles can then have technology roles assigned to them, such as management roles or resource roles can be assigned to a business role to provide access to resources for people that are assigned to those business roles. Now, business roles can also be mapped from external authoritative systems such as HR or personnel systems. Now, when I say that, what I mean is if we are connecting to an HR system and that HR system has job titles, for instance, such as secretary, manager, director, those types of things. If we're connecting to an HR system, for instance, an HR system may have job titles within it, such as manager, secretary, groundskeeper, analyst, salesperson, those types of things. Well, in EmpowerID, when we inventory that particular system and we bring in those job titles, we can map those job titles to the corresponding business roles within EmpowerID to create an automated assignment of a person based on the job title to a particular business role within EmpowerID. Finally, let's look at locations. Now, locations can represent the organizational and geographic structure of a business, as well as be able to represent operational groupings such as projects and applications. The combination of the business role, which is what a person can do, and the location, which is where the person can do it, can define the technological environment available to a person within EmpowerID. Now let's take a quick look at some roles and locations. So in EmpowerID, here's a view of our roles and locations for this particular infrastructure. Notice we have just a few business roles over here. So we can make someone a standard employee. We can give them another role such as contractor, which might be under the all employee roles. And we can place them in a geographic location such as Sydney or London or Kyoto, or we can put them in a department such as information technology or sales. Now these assignments that you create here in EmpowerID can be created specifically for the business processes that you need to do for your particular organization. Now, let's talk about delegation. In EmpowerID, when we talk about delegation, we're referring to the assignment of RBAC access. So access is granted via the assignment of roles. Now, using a polyarchical methodology, those two trees, the role and location, these assignments are delegated to a combination of scope and target. So in other words, the ability to perform a function in a particular location is granted to an actor in a particular location. So for instance, as we look back at our system here, and we take a look at our management roles, and our enterprise password administrator is being granted the password reset and unlock for any people that are in a particular location, in this case, all business locations. So that's the scope of access. We're granting someone the ability to do password reset and unlock operations to all people in all business locations. Now, when we talk about the target of this particular management role, we're really talking about the assignees. So who are we going to grant this scope of access to? Now we do that by assigning members of a particular management role. So in this case, what we can do is we can say that we're going to grant this management role to a particular business role, and location. So for instance, I can come in here and I can say that anyone who has the role of standard employee in the information technology department should have this particular management role, which gives them the scope of access for being able to reset passwords of everybody in the enterprise. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about scope and target within EmpowerID. To summarize, understanding EmpowerID's RBAC starts with understanding the fundamental concepts of our roles-based access control. And we manage protected resources through the assignment of protected operations. We use technology roles such as access levels and management roles to provide that convenient method for bundling these operations together for assignment to a person. And then we delegate those assignments combining scope and target concepts to provide a flexible mechanism for assigning privileges within our enterprise. So thanks for watching the video today. Come back later for more videos. Look forward to seeing you then.